Welcome to another episode with your host, Robert E. Hansen, psychic medium, author, and public speaker.
Hi, welcome back. Today we are talking about takers and givers. Takers and givers is a very well-known theme in many circles of psychology, spiritual work, psychic work. So I want to go into it a little bit because there is great expressions of awareness, great expressions of consciousness connected to both of these topics, both of these types of personalities. Some of you may have heard a quote. I'm going to paraphrase the quote a little bit, that givers, please be careful, because takers will continue to take until there is nothing left to offer. They will simply take, they will grab, they will take, until the giver, which offers everything they have basically, eventually becomes exhausted and has nothing else left to give. And then the taker simply turns their eyesight, their gaze into another direction. They leave the giver completely exhausted, empty of all self, empty of all hope, empty of all sense of well-being, and they look to the taker and say, I've given you all I have. Now you're either leaving me or you're asking for more than I can offer you. There's a demand placed on me that I cannot compensate with, that I cannot provide to you. I thought by me giving you all I have that you would then recognize my sincerity, my effort, my desire to want to please you, to make you happy, to make you feel whole and fulfilled. And the taker simply either smirks or laughs or walks away and simply says, you know what, I cannot do that. I don't care about really how you feel about things. I just need to feed emotionally, financially, romantically, spiritually, sexually off of you until I am satisfied. If you want to keep me around you, if you want me to be near you, if you want me to suggest to you that you are important to me, continue to give me what I need. Let my taking hands, my grabbing soul, continue to pull from you, extract from you that which I demand, that which I desire. And for the giver, they simply comply because of various reasons, which we're going to start looking at here in a moment. Okay? So the taker personality, sometimes the taker personality falls into a category of extreme greediness, a sense of amplified jealousy about others. Some people sometimes will suggest they fall under the banner of a narcissistic personality where they are simply driven to constantly need to control the outcome, feed off of the outcome, demand results from the giver. So let's go into it a little bit. What makes a person a taker? Clearly, there is some mechanism internally, some mechanism emotionally that has triggered within that person, whether it be through a genetic component, it could be handed down from generation to generation. You know, there are certain people that watch and see selfishly driven people, perhaps their parents, their grandparents, next door neighbors. There is someone that they see constantly getting something, driving a new car, getting a new house, better clothes, better furniture. They're constantly searching, getting, grabbing, looking for certain externalized materials, certain externalized senses of wealth and security that they're constantly taking from. And for some of these people, I'm sure you've seen them, and whether it be in real life or on television or in the movies, sometimes their quest for fulfillment is insatiable. And they see and scan their playing field. In other words, they're the people that they interact with. And these can be people as close to them as their own family, their children, their wives, their spouses, their parents. example of this is very notorious in certain areas of grief where a mother has passed away or a father has passed away, perhaps both have passed away, a husband has passed away, and the family suddenly comes out of the woodwork searching and seeking for property, for money, for the remnants that are left gone by, for the materials left behind by the family, the silver and gold, as it were, to come and take it. And this often causes great friction in the family, especially when there is no will or there is no attorneys involved and people are screaming and finger pointing. And this whole mindset of taking and grabbing evolves. And I've seen it destroy families. I've seen it destroy close siblings. I've seen it destroy husbands and wives. I've seen it destroy relationships between children and parents. So the taker is not just taking for a temporary thing. It's one thing to kind of take something because you're hungry, or you take something because you're thirsty and you have nowhere other place to look, nowhere other place to turn. So you almost become a thief in the heart because you are really suffering, right? There are people that, of course, that are suffering in relationships. They've either lost a partner or they've never been successful in let's say, a romantic journey, their quest for affection, their quest for a close relationship with someone is being driven away from them. And they feel they need to fulfill this. And they say, I need to take from somebody. And they wind up setting up certain emotional choreographies, certain emotional standards, certain emotional misrepresentations in order to get a hold of somebody and pull them in, suck them into a relationship emotionally, perhaps using money, perhaps using sex, perhaps using promises unfulfilled, to take them into their arms and get from them what they need. The giver, because they are blinded by the desire to be received, the giver wants to be appreciated. The giver wants to feel they are participating. The giver feels they want to offer something to the taker because they believe on some level that when the taker receives what is being given, the taker is then satisfied and feels complete and whole. Little does the giver know that it's an endless pit, an empty pit in which the taker will continue to seek something more and more and more. The taker is not only looking to take from you physical things or emotional things. There are people, as I mentioned a little earlier, in the narcissistic mindset, this self-dominating, this self-sense of I am the beginning and the end of all things. This is the narcissist, right? They look to take away someone's self-identity. They look to take away someone's sense of self-confidence. They look to take away the sense of someone's well-being. They feel satisfied. They also get fulfilled by taking away another's thunder. They, for example, watch someone play in a baseball game, as an example, and the person hits 2 home runs. They go up to bat 4 times, and twice they strike out, but they have 2 big home runs, and then maybe they win the game because of it. The taker might say, yeah, you did a good job, but you should have had 2 more. They will never make the person feel that their honoring of them or their praise of them or their sense of well-being for that giver is fulfilled. They don't want to do that. They insist on putting their thumb on the person, putting their proverbial hands on their shoulder and pushing them down underneath. The giver does not recognize this at first. They thought they're being complimentary, they thought they're being polite, they thought they're being nice, but they walk away from the situation feeling somehow either dirty, they don't feel clean about it, they don't feel whole about it. There is something missing. And they say, Jesus, I thought that their compliments and their sense of my well-being was really well-founded. I thought they really came to enjoy the baseball game. I thought they would be really, really proud of me. And all of a sudden I look up and my mother's standing there, or my father's standing there, or my brother is standing there, this kind of taker kind of personality. And I walk away with 2 home runs, I win the game, and it's not enough. And I look to them for compliment. I look to them for praise. I look to them to give me a sense of well-being, that a job I've done well, I worked really hard at this, and they don't do it. They don't offer it. They will not allow that to happen. They must take away a piece of flesh before they go to sleep. They must have an emotional trophy placed by their bedstand so they can lay back on some sense of twisted fulfillment and say, I really give them a couple of compliments, but I want to make sure they realize they're not quite as good as me. They have to offer me more. If they want to keep me in my circle of love and friendship and affection, I need them to come forward and kind of bow to me. They have to honor me. They have to apologize to me. They have to make sure that I know that they know that I'm much more valuable than them, and that anything I do offer to them as a taker is breadcrumbs. But in reverse, I demand a lot, not only from this one particular giver, but they look for this amongst almost everyone they circulate around, anyone they move in front of. They are always looking to take. They want to feel that every business relationship that they win. They want to feel in every emotional relationship they win. They cannot stand the fact that someone else may have parity with them. Someone can play on an even playing field with them. Someone would enjoy life the way they enjoy life. To really have a cooperative, loving relationship where there's what we sometimes call, there has to be a give and take. In other words, there is always this maneuvering balance, this flowing balance, this loving balance that should be occurring between two relationships, one helping the other to stand when the other has fallen, and vice versa. The taker, of course, wants everyone to come over to their rescue if they're having a bad day, and lift them up and elevate them and talk nicely and give them a hand and say everything will be great and don't worry, we'll do this for you, we'll help you out, we'll get you there, we'll get you solid. And the giver is giving and giving and giving to the point of exhaustion, and the taker says, you know what, yeah, thanks a lot, but I need more than you can give. And they'll quickly, almost immediately, jump over to someone else, someplace else, some other process in which they can continue to fulfill this insatiable need of receiving. It becomes almost a gluttony of the soul, like someone that just cannot control their food intake or their inhalation of tobacco or something. It becomes an addictive obsession to constantly take. And if they feel they're not taking, they feel like they're failing, which they within themselves points to other people. They never point at themselves and say, what the hell's with me? Why do I continue to take everything that's laid in front of me? They don't see it. They're kind of like locusts that are just destroying farm vegetables. They land, they take everything out, they leave nothing left except the chaff, just destroyed wheat, destroyed corn, whatever they're chewing, and they just leave it in that dirt. The farmer looks out, he sees nothing left of his year's work, and off go the insects. Their bellies are fulfilled, their whole system is fulfilled, and they move on looking for the next field, and their wings are waving away from the farmer saying, see, we took everything you have. And the farmer's going, oh my God, everything I just worked on for the last year and a half has been destroyed. That is the personality of the taker. And the giver, of course, as I've been sharing with you, is a person who has been taught to believe, thinks perhaps their sense of well-being, perhaps their sense of self-identity is fragile. They're not sure how to give. This happens, of course, in relationships and early marriages. You want to have give and take, and often that works. It does. People really do give and take legitimately. And then you have people that just very shortly they realize really quick that the person they're with, the person they thought they understood and loved and knew, is really there just to continue to feed off of them and take off of them. And not only do they take everything on many levels, but they also leave the partner heartbroken and feeling that they're inferior, that they're not capable of giving, and so on and so on and so on. So this is the great malady of takers and givers. So if you are a taker, I hope you step back and have heard some words I've spoken. Whether or not they'll even touch you, I don't know. Many takers would just turn off the switch and say, I'm not listening to these words. I don't want to hear this guy. I don't want to hear anyone tell me about me or put me under a magnifying glass. And if you're the giver, I assure you, your head shaking up and down saying, I know exactly what this guy is talking about, because I've lived it. I've had my heart broken by it. I have become impoverished financially or emotionally by it. I have given all I have, and it's still not enough. So if you are a giver, there comes a time where you have to really take a stand up and take a look at yourself and see why you continually feel the need to be a punching bag, a host to the parasite. You know, in biology, you have the parasite, that which feeds continually, on the host, which is the receiving entity that takes the parasite onto them and allows the parasite, whether by will or by inability to stop it, for the parasite to feed. Eventually, the host is completely dissolved, completely destroyed, and the parasite just shakes off and moves on to a new host and begins it all over again. This is the classic sign of the taker and the giver. So if you're a giver, I strongly encourage you to stand up at a certain point when you can't give anymore. Stop giving and turn your sights elsewhere, to therapy, speak to people that will really help guide you to a different behavioral process. And if you're a taker, I hope you have the courage, the decency, hopefully the capacity to step back and say, what the hell am I doing? I have some really beautiful people in my life, and all I continue to do is break their hearts and feed off them. Perhaps I can step back and take a good look at this. That's the story of the takers and the givers. Thank you for tuning in.